Hello, fourth grade. I'm here again today with an Alabama history lesson for you. We started chapter 7 last week. We did section 1. You turned in a workbook page. We're going to look at section 2. The workbook page that goes with section 2 is kind of messed up, so we're not going to try to do that workbook page. That's actually page 63, so you do not have to worry about doing page 63. However, I think it's important for us to take just a quick look at section 2. I do want you to look at pages 200 through 205. And that's going to tell you about the Confederate States of America and the war. Now, this begins the Civil War in this section, so it's kind of important for you to kind of look at it. The map on page 200 in your book will tell you how the states were split. And we are going to be looking at the gray section because Alabama was part of the Confederacy, and we're talking about Alabama history. So we're obviously going to, they broke away and they named themselves the Confederate States of America. We call ourselves sometimes the Confederacy. We elected a president, Jefferson Davis. That was our first president, and we actually, when we went to Montgomery, we talked about this just a little bit. On page 202 is where the actual Civil War begins. At the very bottom, the Civil War begins, blue versus gray. And that is when our General Beauregard from the southern states, from the Confederacy, asked Fort Sumter to surrender. And they said no. And he said, okay, fire shots. So that's where that started in Montgomery. The call came from General Beauregard, and we talked about that before in class. So that's kind of a little bit about section 2. Then we're going to take a look at section 3. That starts on page 206. So once again, chapter 7, section 3. This is talking about Alabama at home during the war. So what's going on at home while the war is happening? And this is actually the vocabulary, the workbook page you're going to be looking at. Page 64. Page 64 in your workbook. Now, really, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. In the war, they use secret codes. So we're going to use a secret code today. And the secret code, you really don't even have to have the book. So you don't have to look at section 3. We're going to take a look in our workbook. If you look at the directions, it says, Alabama in war times, a code. There were many codes during the Civil War. Try your hand at decoding the puzzle below. For each letter in the coded word, substitute the letter in the alphabet that comes before it. For example, if the coded word has a B, you would substitute A. If it has an N, you would substitute M. For A, you start back over and you substitute Z. And the first one is done for you. So let's take a look at that first one. It says the northernmost state in the Confederacy. Now, if the alphabet is at the top of the page, don't try to do this in your head. That's a little bit too hard. Too hard for me anyway. I don't want to think that much. So I'm going to go up to my W in that little line of alphabet that you see. And what's the letter right before W? It's a V. So I'm going to write V in the line. And you're going to do that for every one of these. So you really don't need your book. All you need is the alphabet at the top of the page. But we do want to learn something for this. So I'm going to read each one to you to kind of help you out. Number 2. Slaves sometimes worked in iron blank during the war. Number 3. Clothes for Confederate war needs were made in blank blank in towns such as Prattville. So that's 2 words. Number 4. Blank was a leader in the manufacture of weapons and ammunition. Now it talks about 2 places, but one of them is you're gonna reveal it when you look at your secret code. Number 5. To keep supplies from getting through, the Union set up a naval blank. Number 6. One of the items Southerners needed most was blank. Number 7. As the war dragged on, blank cost $300 a barrel. Now, that may not sound like a lot here now, and it really would be, but back then that was a lot of money. Number 8. Some men had to wear blank made by wives and mothers back home. Number 9. blank blank were sometimes used as a substitute for coffee. So 2 words again. And number 10, the Confederate warship blank was built in Selma. Now, when you figured out all your secret codes and got your words in, take a picture and send your assignment to your teacher, page 64,